20 miles east of Madison, Wisconsin, light frost covers a lonely stretch of woods.
All right, this is what we got. We've got an actual crime scene out here, okay?
It provides a chilling blanket for a body.
We've got a female, badly beaten and partially decomposed.
Evidence technician Steve Gilmore has documented death for more than 25 years. Even so, the scene at Goose Lake leaves him cold.
It was indeed gruesome. There had been a light dusting of snow, but you could still visibly see blunt force trauma to her face, chest, abdomen, legs, virtually her entire body in terms of discoloration of contusions and abrasions.
As Gilmore draws closer, the merely horrific turns bizarre. The woman's hands have been severed at the wrist. 5 days later, they're found by some hunters with their fingertips cut off.
The person who did this is a person who knows her, who is known to know her, and who knows about the criminal justice system, who knows if we have her fingerprints, we can identify her.
The story gets local, then national coverage. Over 2,000 possible victims are reviewed and rejected, and the girl's identity remains a mystery. Jane Doe is laid to rest under a headstone without a name. The case goes cold. "50 miles east of Madison sits Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a bigger town with more and bigger crimes. Cold case detectives here had never worked the Madison crime. One day, however, they take a call. Suddenly, the missing girl becomes a Milwaukee problem.
I'm talking to somebody in Dean.
I got a call from police officer Dyer in Springfield, Illinois, indicating that he had information regarding a homicide that had occurred in the city of Milwaukee.
A woman has seen posters of the girl and pieces it together with some family gossip.
Met with the informant, showed her a picture of the morgue photographs that we obtained from Dane County. And when she saw them, she said that looked like the girl she had seen with Joseph White.
Then, one day, according to the informant, the young woman simply vanished.
She told us a story indicating that the girl had been picked up out of Decatur, out of a group home in Decatur, where she had run away.
The trail is cold, but worth following. Murphy and Becker head for the group home in Decatur. There, they show the morgue photo to the home's administrator.
She was taken back by it. She said it looks like her, but she didn't want to admit it was her because she didn't want her to be dead. We interviewed other workers and Doris McLeod's roommates, and they all identified the photograph.
Doris Ann McLeod. Finally, police have a name for this face, and a story that's all too typical. A month prior to her death, Doris was on a Greyhound bus, running away from the last home. In a matter of days, Joseph White puts her out on a stroll. From the beginning, there are problems. Police believe Doris McLeod tried to walk away from Joseph White with fatal consequences.
And I think that's the pivotal part in the whole case, when she wanted to step away from this activity and he had this grandiose plan that this was going to be the way it was. And that's what ultimately led to the falling out and her death.
"6:45 a.m. Cold case detectives approach a rundown two-flat in Milwaukee's inner city. They're here to arrest Joseph White for the murder of Doris McLeod. But as they approach the front door, White heads out the back.
And as we got to the upper level where they lived and into the kitchen area, a uniformed officer was bringing Joe White back up these stairs. He told us that he encountered Joe White coming down the stairs as we were going up the front, and that Joe told him he was going down to contact the neighbor to borrow a cup of sugar.
Borrowing sugar at 6:45 a.m. strikes police as odd. Inside White's apartment, they find more oddities, amounting to a case for murder. Scattered about the apartment are fragments of Doris McLeod's brief time in Milwaukee. Bus tickets for her and White. clothes, and bits of jewelry. Taken together, they tie White to his victim, but remain largely circumstantial. Then detectives find a smoking gun in the person of a 3-year-old boy.
Well, it was a warm day in Milwaukee, and because of that, we had our sport coats off. And naturally, children are curious by the things that police officers carry on their belts.
And I felt like a tug on my coat and my gun. And it was this little boy, it was Joseph.
Young Joseph Jr. came up to me and was very curious about the flashlight on my belt, asked me what it was, wanted to see it.
Detective Becker pulled out a picture of Doris McLeod and asked if he knew who that was.
And Joe said, "That's Dee."
I says, "Do you know her?" And he says, "Yes, that's Dee." I then asked him if Dee had ever been hurt while she was in the house, and he said, yes, she had been hurt. The monster had hurt her in the basement of the house.
In the basement, Joey first shows police Dee's bedroom, consisting of a mattress on a cellar floor. Adjoining the makeshift bedroom is a laundry room. Here, Joey points to steam pipes near the ceiling.
He said that he could see Dee and that Dee was hanging. And we said, "What do you mean hanging, Joe? Where?" And he said, "Up there." So we could only assume that she was somehow suspended based on what he was telling us.
And I asked how she had been hurt, and he said, well, the monster bit her fingers.
Which was particularly unnerving to us because the information about the fingertips being removed had never been released to the public.
An understatement, a classic understatement, would be to say that the hair stood up on the back of your neck. To think that a child of that age could have seen anything this horrific was a very telling moment in this whole case, and an overwhelming moment for the 4 detectives assembled there.
Based on Joey's account, cold case detectives believe this might be where Doris McLeod was tortured and perhaps killed. Upstairs, they find more evidence of exactly how she was killed.
Detective Murphy was concentrating his efforts on searching this area, and secreted behind a panel in this unit, he found the gang pad.
This is the gang pad Murphy found hidden in White's house. It provides a blueprint for the inner workings of the gangster Disciple Nation, one of the largest and most violent gangs in the country. In the context of a murder investigation, however, the gang pad provides much more.
It talked about what happens to you when you violate the rules of the gang, and it said right on there, 50 to the chest.
50 to the chest, the punishment specified for a girl who refuses to work the streets, and a chilling echo of Doris McLeod's autopsy report. Repeated blows struck to the head and chest prior to her death. The first day of Joseph White's murder trial. The defendant arrives in court wearing long black Muslim robes. His son waves to his dad. He will help police build their case. White then insists on defending himself.
The prosecution may want you to believe that I killed him. And in fact, if that is believed, then the innocent man will be sent to prison.
Basically, I would compare it to trying to teach a 6-year-old to drive your car at 100 miles an hour and tell them, take a left at the corner.
It appears as if there's been very little preparation in terms of trying to prepare questions for the individual witnesses. I'm getting concerned that the jury might be getting very uncomfortable with the way the evidence is coming in.
After 6 days of evidence, the jury returns in less than 4 hours. White is found guilty of murder in the first degree. He will be eligible for parole in the year 2074.